As most of those present were aware that this evening a certain very important decision was to be taken, these words of Nastasia Philipovna's appeared to be fraught with much hidden interest. The general and Totski exchanged looks. Gania fidgeted convulsively in his chair. "Let's play at some game," suggested the actress. "I know a new and most delightful game," added Ferdishenko. "What is it?" asked the actress. "Well, when we tried it we were a party of people, like this, for instance, and somebody proposed that each of us, without leaving his place at the table, should relate something about himself. It had to be something that he really and honestly considered the very worst action he had ever committed in his life. But he was to be honest. That was the chief point. He wasn't to be allowed to lie." "What an extraordinary idea," said the general. "That's the beauty of it, General." "It's a funny notion," said Totski, "and yet quite natural. It's only a new way of boasting." "Perhaps that is just what was so fascinating about it." "Why, it would be a game to cry over, not to laugh at," said the actress. "Did it succeed?" asked Nastasia Philipovna. "Come, let's try it, let's try it. We really are not quite so jolly as we might be. Let's try it. We may like it. It's original, at all events." "Yes," said Ferdishenko, "it's a good idea. Come along. The men begin. Of course, no one need tell a story if he prefers to be disobliging. We must draw lots. Throw your slips of paper, gentlemen, into this hat, and the prince shall draw for turns. It's a very simple game. All you have to do is to tell the story of the worst action of your life. It's as simple as anything. I'll prompt anyone who forgets the rules." No one liked the idea much. Some smiled, some frowned, some objected, but faintly, not wishing to oppose Nastasia's wishes. For this new idea seemed to be rather well received by her. She was still in an excited, hysterical state, laughing convulsively at nothing and everything. Her eyes were blazing, and her cheeks showed two bright red spots against the white. The melancholy appearance of some of her guests seemed to add to her sarcastic humour, and perhaps the very cynicism and cruelty of the game proposed by Ferdishenko pleased her. At all events, she was attracted by the idea, and gradually her guests came round to her side. The thing was original, at least, and might turn out to be amusing. "And supposing it's something that one can't speak about before ladies?" asked the timid and silent young man. "Why, then, of course, you won't say anything about it. As if there are not plenty of sins to your score without the need of those," said Ferdishenko. "But I really don't know which of my actions is the worst," said the lively actress. "Ladies are exempted if they like." "And how are you to know that one isn't lying? And if one lies, the whole point of the game is lost," said Gania. "Oh, but think how delightful to hear how one's friends lie. Besides, you needn't be afraid, Gania. Everybody knows what your worst action is without the need of any lying on your part. Only think, gentlemen," and Ferdishenko here grew quite enthusiastic, "only think with what eyes we shall observe one another tomorrow, after our tales have been told." "But surely this is a joke, Nastasia Philipovna?" asked Totski. "You don't really mean us to play this game?" "Whoever is afraid of wolves had better not go into the wood," said Nastasia, smiling. "But pardon me, Mr. Ferdishenko, is it possible to make a game out of this kind of thing? persisted Totski, growing more and more uneasy. "I assure you it can't be a success." "And why not? Why, the last time I simply told straight off about how I stole 3 roubles." "Perhaps so, but it is hardly possible that you told it so that it seemed like truth, or so that you were believed. And as Gavrila Ardalionovitch has said, the least suggestion of a falsehood takes all point out of the game. It seems to me that sincerity, on the other hand, is only possible if combined with a kind of bad taste that would be utterly out of place here." "How subtle you are, Afanasy Ivanovitch! You astonish me!" cried Ferdishenko. "You will remark, gentlemen, that in saying that I could not recount the story of my theft so as to be believed, Afanasy Ivanovitch has very ingeniously implied that I am not capable of thieving. It would have been bad taste to say so openly. And all the time he is probably firmly convinced in his own mind that I am very well capable of it. But now, gentlemen, to business. Put in your slips, ladies and gentlemen. Is yours in, Mr. Totski? So, then we are all ready. Now, prince, draw, please." The prince silently put his hand into the hat, and drew the names. Ferdishenko was first, then Ptitsin, then the general, Totski next, his own fifth, then Gania, and so on. The ladies did not draw. "Oh dear!" cried Ferdishenko. "I did so hope the prince would come out first, and then the general. Well, gentlemen, I suppose I must set a good example. What vexes me much is that I am such an insignificant creature that it matters nothing to anybody whether I have done bad actions or not. Besides, which am I to choose? It's an embarras de richesse. Shall I tell how I became a thief on one occasion only, to convince Afanasy Ivanovitch that it is possible to steal without being a thief?" "Do go on, Ferdishenko, and don't make unnecessary preface, or you'll never finish," said Nastasia Philipovna. All observed how irritable and cross she had become since her last burst of laughter. But none the less obstinately did she stick to her absurd whim about this new game. Totski sat looking miserable enough. The general lingered over his champagne, and seemed to be thinking of some story for the time when his turn should come. End of Part 1, Chapter 13. Recording by Martin Geeson in Hazelmere, Surrey.